Welcome to the Bad Tutors podcast. If you are here for the newest, up-to-date, and accurate information on the nerdy topics that are near and dear to your heart, well, let me tell you, you ended up in the wrong place. Here we are all about hot takes and grandiose displays of misinformation. So stick along for the ride and you might just blow a blood vessel or two. Now, Tyler, this is coming out on Memorial Day. And here at the podcast, we are honoring the troops, and we are going to be talking about campaigns and one-shots in TTRPGs. So we're actually not going to be talking about the troops at all. I thought of that dumb campaign joke like 2 days ago, and I've been waiting to make it sense. It's not very good, but it was going to happen.
I wish I had taken over the audio editing so I could just edit in a crowd boo after that, because that was poor.
But yeah, we haven't talked about some deeper TTRPG stuff. We've talked about building a villain and things tangentially related to TTRPGs, but nothing specifically related to them in a second. So I kind of wanted to talk about one-shots in campaigns when it comes to tabletop role-playing, because I don't know if you'd agree with this. I feel like when non-nerds, non-RPG fans think of D&D or think of a tabletop role-playing game, which on average is going to be D&D, but that's not the point. They're thinking of a long-term campaign, all of the jokes of, I have a 19th level Wizzaladin that has the blade of Amun Kesh, and all of the pop culture jokes of TTRPG players being nerds is they've been playing the one game for the last 17 decades of their life, and their children's children are going to take part in the same fucking campaign. And while I feel like that's what we personally play a lot more of, I think there's a lot of fun to be had in one-shots. And I don't know if I don't want to say like they don't get the respect that they should. I think people like one-shots, but I like making over-inflammatory statements, as we all know quite well. But,
let me just interject on that previous inflammatory statement. I have a tattoo that is on my left wrist on the inside that displays how much of a fucking nerd I am, and shows that I play D&D. I don't think I've ever once gotten somebody who has heard of D&D vaguely, but isn't understanding of what it truly is, say like, oh, so you guys play like year-long stuff, and stuff like that. Like just the other day, I was talking to a nurse while I was getting blood work done, and she asked me, she goes, what's your tattoo for? So I explained, it's the die that you roll to determine everything in Dungeons and Dragons. And she's like, oh, like from Stranger Things, which is what most people nowadays relate D&D back to. It's like,
your everyday person's going to be thinking of Stranger Things for sure.
Yeah, I was like, they play, one of the first editions of Dungeons and Dragons that ever came out in Stranger Things. And she goes, oh, so you guys just like once a week get together and it's like a board game that you play. I was like, kind of. I mean, we get together once a week, but it's like an overarching narrative and stuff like that. So a lot of the times I find myself having to explain the idea of a campaign to new people. I don't usually get people that are like, oh, so like, how long have you been playing? Like, what's your character like? Stuff like that. I usually get, what is D&D? Okay. How long do you play it for every time that you play? Like, how long do you block out each week? Because people think it's crazy that I want to play the same game for like 3+ hours once a week with my friends. And then I tell them that I play 3 games every week.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do you even... And so...
How do you have time to do this? Oh, those other activities that you do? Yeah, I don't do any of those.
Yeah, I don't watch the news. I don't watch sports. I don't.
We don't go out drinking.
Yeah,
most of the time.
I don't like talk to my neighbors or anything. That like a lot of these older folks that I talk to, they all seem to like every time I ask them, like my coworkers, what they do over the weekend, they're like, "Oh, me and my neighbors had a bonfire or a barbecue or something." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck?" Even if
What, you're outside with
even if
people
I was
in real life?
even
Gross.
if I was in like a suburb or something like that, I don't want to interact with my neighbors. Really,
Yeah,
it's
I get
just
that.
it's like I don't know. I don't really feel the need to try and build that connection. I guess. Uh,
I like to have enough of a familiarity with my neighbors to go, hey, you'll let me know if my house is on fire, right? And
yeah,
that's
or
about
like
it. Maybe get my mail when I'm out of town for a week and a half. Like, other than that,
yeah.
it's
So
pretty passing interactions.
me and Sky just moved into a new apartment, and the people that live across the hall from us, I said, "Hey, will you let us know if like our TV's too loud or something? We're
Hmm.
trying a new setup, and the sound bar is pointed right at our front door." And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure." And they got evicted like a week and a half later. Um,
Man, your
I
fucking TV was so loud that you got someone else evicted? That's
yeah, I know, right?
crazy.
I don't know if they even got evicted. I think they just up and left and probably stopped paying rent because there's like notices that are like plastered
Oh, Jesus
on
Christ.
their wall or on their door, and it's
Hmm.
like 6 deep now. It's crazy.
Jesus.
So
So that's how we compare one shots to real life, is with 6 eviction notices.
okay,
I'll let you make sense of that one on your own time.
I don't have to. I'm not gonna listen to
Um,
this.
yeah, but it's in your head because I said it directly to you. So we've talked about one shots and campaigns before. I'm sure we've talked about them a little bit on the podcast. As we've kind of just described in some kind of a diatribe that the two of us just went on with that neighbor rant. A campaign is normally a game in whatever system you're playing that is lasting multiple months.
You could just say
I'd say
long
like
term. It's a
long term.
long term
Yeah.
story that
It
is
doesn't
being
have to go
played.
10 years, but the juxtaposition is that a one shot is an idea that I'd say if it goes longer than like 3 sessions, you'd be calling it something else because it's a one shot story, which a lot of times can imply that you will finish it within 1 session. When we
Yeah,
do one shots at Gen Con, or like if you were to go to an LGS and do a one shot adventure, you'd go in, start it, and you'd more than likely be done by the end of the night. When you're playing like we do with your friends and stuff, you can fuck around. A one shot might take 2 or 3 sessions, but it's not going to be 6 months, is like the real difference.
are you familiar with Dimension 20 and how they structure their games?
Um, very loosely. Like, I know
Okay.
that they're certainly quicker because there's like 8 of them in the time that Dimension 20's been running, and
Yeah,
Critical Role's
so
over here with one campaign every 6 years.
pretty much the way that Dimension 20 works is they do settings and a story within that setting, and they block out
Hmm.
a number of episodes. And I think it's like 10
Okay.
or maybe a little bit more. But like
Oh,
that
so they're
is
even shorter than I thought. Then
that is
interesting.
close. Well, each episode's 4 hours, So
But still,
it's like a full season of like a TV show.
yeah.
Um, but it's like their schedule is near a one shot because it captures a lot of like the one shot identity, I suppose, of
Hmm.
one setting, uh, one overarching problem. They might
Right.
encounter other issues or things that they have to solve, but there is like one thing that whether or not they know it, they set out to solve.
Yep,
Whereas
that makes sense.
campaigns, you can look at Critical Role, they have episodes anywhere from like 3 hours to five that
Hmm.
take place in a world that was built for them to play in, and they go all over that planet. They go to different uh, realms and different planes of existence. They play the same characters throughout, and their like seasons, I suppose, are like 100 and probably like 15 is the average. 115 episodes. I think this one's going to go on. The one that they're finishing now will probably go on for like 130, if I had to guess,
Hmm. Yeah.
based on where they're at and what they're trying to accomplish. So like those are the two biggest live play shows, and one of
Yeah.
them has more the spirit of one shots, and one of them has the campaign identity. So
I'm gonna make kind of an interesting analogy and see if you agree with this. I like that you say that like Dimension 20 is kind of like a season of television, because something that I think about when storytelling that kind of comes from anime in a way, that's where this analogy is gonna get a little weird,
okay,
is so a season of TV is like a full story, and normally they're more or less standalone of like the Dimension 20. You have, say, your one villain depending on the show, and that's going to get solved. And then maybe in season 2 you still have the same characters, but like it feels a lot more definitive. Where in anime you don't have seasons, you have arcs, from what I've seen in my very lucid time watching anime. But like taking One Piece for example, like if you go on anything, like when I first started watching that on Netflix, I think there were 3 seasons, big air quotes around the word seasons, because like the season 1 to 2 cutoff was like in the middle of an arc of the show, which I feel like that's how anime is talked about a lot more of the time, of this is your story arc. Maybe it's 40-50 episodes here, 20-30 here, but like I don't know what it is, even though it's the same thing. You could just call an arc a season. It feels a little different to me, I think, because in my head arcs are tied together, where like a season is pretty much self-contained, and in a campaign you're going to have many different arcs throughout your time telling a story, how everything goes, but they're all going to relate back to the main story. Where if you have a season in this analogy, just be like, well, this is done, and that kind of concludes everything. Maybe like character growth that we've had throughout that season would progress in like, continue over, but like these characters aren't going to be talked about again. Where in an arc, like things might call back and harken back to other things. That's like how I keep them kind of separate. I don't think that's like a hard fast rule or anything like that though.
I will actually agree, but narrow it down even more.
That's a good
with
idea.
like
That was very long-winded.
with like popular television shows like The Office or Community, or Parks and Rec, like a lot of
Mhm.
these like comedies and sort of what are they called, like fake
See,
documentary style
yeah,
shows.
mockumentary
Yeah,
sitcom type things.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they always have overarching plots. That's called the A plot, where
Yep.
these are the characters, and that's what the TV series cares about, is the characters' stories. But then there's B plot in an episode that is um, what actually happens in the episode. For like The
Right.
Office, um, there's an episode where there's like a company wide picnic and they play a game of volleyball, and that's like the B plot. But the A
Mhm.
plot is that Pam, the secretary, finds out that she's pregnant, and so that obviously has a lot of uh, story
Overarching
that's going
implications.
to be present in the rest of the series. But the episode's about a volleyball game at a company picnic.
Right.
So I think of one shots as uh, the B plot
The
of an episode.
Yeah,
It's like
that that's a much better way to put it. I like
if
that.
if you were to take out the Pam pregnancy thing, it's just about one branch of the office beating the corporate branch at a volleyball game, and people are taking it
Exactly.
way too seriously for what it is. And
Mhm.
so that's how I think of one shots, and then a campaign would be like the characters as they go. So
Right.
let's stop trying to make analogies of
Yeah.
them, and let's just get into. You want to start with one shots and sort of what we like
Yeah.
about them?
Are You want to start with campaigns, because I feel like that'll segue into one shots a little bit better. I feel like establishing what we think is good about a campaign lays out a lot of
Sure. And
groundwork for
I'll say
things.
this: campaigns is what people want to play. This is how people want
Correct.
to be playing the game,
Yep.
because it's a lot more just generalizing. It is a lot more powerful to have a good
Mhm.
campaign than to have a one shot. Whereas you might remember everything that happens in a one shot, and you will not in a campaign. But the moments in a campaign that stick with you are more valuable than in a one shot for the most part.
They feel more earned, I would say.
Yeah. So
this whole episode is just us talking openly about the pros and cons of one shots in campaigns, kind of the differences, and not that we like one over the other. It's just they serve different purposes, and we just kind of want to talk about that a little more.
Sure. So with campaigns, we'll start with character development. You are going to
have it in campaigns.
You're going to have
the
it.
First point.
Yeah. But you're going to create your character from the ground up in a way that you're going to stick with it throughout the campaign. So whatever identity you craft for your character, you're sort of locked into it. And
if you're looking for a way to craft your character, you can look back to our previous episode on building conflicts into your TTRPG characters.
Yeah, literary conflicts. That's a good idea.
Our literally conflicts.
So Bennett, next time you're mowing,
that one out real quick.
Next time you're mowing and you hear this one, go and listen to the
the other one. Exactly.
Yeah. So in character development, you're going to start at a lower level, obviously, and level up.
Yep.
And as you play, things are going to happen within your character, within your party, and within the world that might shape the way that you make your build or maybe how you play your character. And that's what we mean by character development. You might see a favorite NPC die, or you might find out that somebody that you trusted cannot be trusted anymore, or maybe even conflicts within the party, or the opposite of conflicts, but not resolution. But you know what I mean, like closer bonding
things happening. Yeah, bonding between characters.
I think
things that will change your outlook on the world.
I think the best example is a non-religious character is in a party with a cleric or a paladin, and they see all of these good things that come out of that character's patron or deity, and they decide, I'm going to throw in with them because we need the help, and this god is obviously relying on our success to some extent, or something along those lines. I think that is a good example of character development.
I think an even more fun example is a very religious character getting completely turned off from their god as well. That's an interesting one, pushing someone all the way to the breaking point to have them completely renounce the thing that they fight for.
Yeah, and we talked about
where
that.
They go from there.
We talked about that in our
that's our villain arc. Exactly.
That sort of thing is like crazy hard to do in an established high fantasy setting, and it would be very fun to see. The only issue is, okay, you're at odds with your god. All of these things, you don't like their doctrine anymore because of something that happens, but all of a sudden, are you just going to give up all of the powers that makes you a good adventurer, that makes you an asset to the party?
Unless you have something like planned with the DM, it's basically going, all right, so I'm retiring my character.
I feel like you would have to plan with the DM. And I think you should be. Whenever you are thinking about the next step in your character's development,
it should be planned.
You should run it over with your DMs, not to get approval. It's your character, but so that they have the heads up for it, and so that they can also work it into the story and maybe give you a little bit of narrative justification for it. I think a really good example is our DM Brum does a great job with this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You made a wish with the monkey's paw, and he had already said, when you make these wishes, we're ending the session, and then me and Ian are going to have a sit down and talk about what exactly, or message about it, what does
this mean?
This means, and what you were trying to say, because if you mess up the wording, I don't want to punish you for it. I will find a negative because it's a monkey's paw, You get
there
your
has
wish
to be
granted,
something.
but it's like twisted a little bit. So I think that's a great way to sort of approach a big story beat that you want to hit in your character's development.
Yep, I completely agree. And I think that brings us a little bit into another thing that makes campaigns so fun is when you're doing all of this stuff and just in general, you're building up your characters, you're building your relationships, and that means that everything has a lot higher stakes. Not only
Certainly.
in terms of like, if you're in a long running Pathfinder campaign, it's higher stakes and risk in terms of the fact that things are just fucking harder. They're going to be harder to fight, but also you're going to be less willing to like back down from things or like just turn tail and run because like, if you're running from some random encounter in a one shot, you might go, "Oh, this isn't the best for us right now." But if you're running from it in a long-term campaign, that could be like, "Oh, I'm running from the pivotal battle that I need to be." It's like I might die, but like I don't want to die, so I'm just gonna run from the battle to save the fate of humanity. And you don't do that a lot of the time, and like you just don't get that kind of danger sense necessarily in a one shot. If you're not attached to the characters you're playing, it doesn't matter as much what happens to them. It's just kind of fun. And that in turn leads to like, I don't want to say a less rewarding experience because they're rewarding in their own way, but like if you almost die or say die 3 times in one combat and get brought back or just get brought back from the brink of death in a long-term campaign, that's going to feel a lot more rewarding in the fact that like this is going to change my character in some way. You've obviously dealt with that a lot, having literally died 3 times in one combat.
Okay, it was,
and 2 combats.
It was
3
okay.
deaths,
It was just like
technically.
one very combat filled day with a lot of very
Yes.
intense fights. And as a wizard with sub 60 HP
health, yeah.
at level 11 now, even still sitting below 60,
it was never.
It gets a little tough when you fight a lot of things in one day.
It certainly does.
But yeah, so
but yeah, your payouts are going to be a lot higher when you're more attached to the characters. Whether or not this is a literal higher reward, as in we're level 11, we better be getting more than 50 gold payout for the fucking quest we just did, as well as there's going to be a lot more new story. Your bonds with NPCs and other characters, they're going to grow a lot more in this than if you've been playing it for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I also think that you actually get rewards in campaigns, whereas in a one shot, if you finish the one shot, you do everything correctly, your DM hands you 7 trillion gold. Does it even fucking matter?
Yeah, cool. This fake character can go break the economy of the world that they're in now, but it means nothing.
Yeah, cool. But I want to touch on the higher stakes. I think the importance of your characters in a campaign, I think wanting to play that character is the reason why stakes are so high. I don't think if you have like a disinterest in playing that character that you're gonna still play cautiously or value your character's hit point total. I think wanting to see their story, or in a sense your story, get told, get explored, I think that's one of the things that makes a campaign have high stakes. And then compounding on that is all of your friends sitting around and having their stories that you also want to see. I'll say this. I think one of the most interesting stories that we have actively is our friend Grant, who has, for whatever reason, I mean, I know the reason, it's because he gave a backstory with important individuals, but for whatever reason...
That before you continue, because I do agree with where you're going, that is the most important thing. Give your DM things to fuck with in your backstory. I know we've addressed that before.
Yeah.
It needs to be said every time. Give things in your backstory so stories can play out.
Yeah.
Sorry. Please continue though.
I think your character surviving is important because you want to see their story, but you also want to see your friend's story. So Grant, for one reason or another, has attracted the ire of what I can only imagine is either the second to last boss or the last boss of the game that we're playing. And
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, I don't want you to. I just want to talk about it.
Of course.
For whatever reason, his family was like a whole nuclear family when he gave it to you. And now his mother has descended into madness. His sister's dead. And his father is just now kind of alone. And
No. His sister, father, and brother were all massacred.
Oh, I thought
his brother and father killed at the same time in front of his mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's even worse than you might be remembering.
I thought in the imagined realm that we went through, I thought that's when his mother like learned of his sister's death and had like a psychotic break. But did we later find out that his brother and father were also dead at that point?
You found that out beforehand when you returned to Robin Grove.
Okay, because I know his sister died early.
Yes, his sister died in like
book
between book 2 or 4. I don't remember at which point, but very early on. And then the character definitely didn't get forgotten about for a little bit because other things were happening, and you're also plot oriented in that game, which is nice, but like side quests are fun too sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, in that game, it is so obvious all the time that like the bad guys
things are
bad
and like
things.
It's gonna like it. There's no real time gate because I always think that's stupid in a game.
It feels like
I guess I'll say
it feels like we have a constriction on time of like we need to get this figured out.
The time gate is realism. It's not like I've given you have 16 weeks. It's just like, hey, if you go for 3 years and don't address the story, bad things will happen, but that's about it. But yeah, he had his whole family fucking killed, other than his mother, who saw 2 of her family members killed in front of her after finding out that her daughter had died some time ago, and just completely had a full mental break.
Yeah.
Understandably, I'd say.
And I think because of that, I want to see his character get revenge or some kind of conclusion to that arc. And that is sort of like the higher stakes that we're talking about. It's not always the world is going to end, although it is sometimes.
It is, but that's besides the point.
But so like what you were saying with the side quests and stuff. Yeah, that's true with campaigns. You can just go on side quests and go and figure something out for like somebody's character or something like that, because campaigns aren't, quote unquote on the rails.
Right.
In a campaign, it's more of have you ever seen that Tom and Jerry skit where Tom's on a toy train and it's going to the end of the track that's laid, so he takes out additional pieces of like toy track and lays it down?
Yes.
That's what a DM is doing in a campaign. But
yes,
they have the turn pieces where they need them so that they can shift direction either away from or towards the goal that they're trying to get the party to. And that's another benefit of campaigns, is they are not so focused. Even though, in your game, we do play it like very focused, like, holy shit, we've got this whole order that's trying to make like an undead apocalypse happen.
Right.
There is still the option for us to be like, okay, we're in this town. There's some fuck shit going on here. Let's spend like a day or two figuring out what's going on here. And
I've tried to tempt you into it and had the call refused many a time.
Well, here's the thing. with campaigns, it's always up to the character to see like what happens, and obviously the DM has the final say because they can just make whatever's supposed to happen, to the left happen right in the center of like your point of view. But
if they went right, it's just 2 left turns from now instead.
Yeah, but like with our pirate campaign, we spent like 2 weeks in Varizia doing what? We went to a festival in Sandpoint
and killed some children.
Yeah. We just fucked off for a little bit.
And that was
from
about
piracy. We were just like, we don't need to be on the boat all the time, trying to do stuff. And like in reality, I don't even know where the tracks are. And I think Brum does a good job of obfuscating what needs to happen for us to finish.
I think the trap sunk into the fucking sea at some point.
That's true. So we have all of these different things that we could be doing, and it's up to us to sort of choose them in like the order that we go through. And I think that's a huge benefit of campaigns. Is that
absolutely, I agree.
There's more agency for the players.
Yeah, where I don't think we'll talk about it a little bit more with one shots. I don't think it's a detrimental thing that one shots are more on the rails, between more to completely on the rails, but like for the purpose of what they are, they have to be. It's a requirement for the DM to go, hey, this is the story we're doing tonight, and if you derail from this, we might just be doing a whole other fucking story. Which, depending on your DM, that might be fine. We've definitely fucked with some DMs at Gen Con and done absolutely back-assward stuff to tell a completely different story. But that's just kind of how one-shots go, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, were you in the escape room one-shot that we did?
The World of Darkness one?
Kind
that
of.
We broke?
Yeah, so
you consented to this PvP? You signed the waiver?
Yeah. You were in that?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
that was like 4 years ago, so
it was a minute ago.
But basically, we get there and we find a door that's locked. And I have a gun for whatever reason. I don't remember the reason why I have a gun. But I'm like, okay,
I think it was just like character bullshit.
I'll shoot the lock. And he's like, you're going to shoot the lock. I say, I shoot the lock. And so I shoot the lock, and he's like, okay, perfect. You shot the lock. I was like, did the lock fall off or anything like that? And he's like, no, it's an electronic lock. I was like, oh, I probably wouldn't have shot it then, but now I just broke the way that we can get out because we don't have the code anymore. And so basically from there on, escape was no longer an option. Escaping the room was no longer an option. We basically just went until
we all died.
We all died, or we killed all of the zombies that were there.
Yep.
And so that is an example of like, okay, so if you guys don't stick to the railroads, or if the objective is not clear from the start, bad things can happen, which will result in a failure. Like, full stop, this is going to end. Whereas in a campaign, I feel like even when things go bad, they're not over until there's a total party kill. Until everybody's laying dead and nobody has any spells to bring people back left. Until that moment, there's still a fight. You still got a dog in the fight. So...
And then I think the last thing that we'll really talk about, unless you got some other stuff as well, for a campaign is that you can really, it's similar to building a character. You can build a world where like you can, in a one shot, you can set out the parameters of a world. In many of the one shots that I've done, I've given like brief explanations of like, this is what you're in. This is the kind of things you can expect. But it's not like I'm building a whole world, or even having you interact with a whole world. I haven't built the world for Carrion Crown, but I know the world and how you're going to interact with it, and the things that lie within the country of Ustalav, and not the geographic location. But that you don't need to know the geographic location. That's fine. You should probably know the geographic location. And you can really set up things and have like a lot more tie-ins and like things interconnected a lot more than in a one shot, which like I said, this is kind of just the other side of the coin of character development is world development. But it's worth pointing out that unless you're doing a series of one shots within the same world, which is an idea that our group toyed around with and actually did for like a somewhat decent amount of time. It just doesn't work as well on the
I
setup of one
think
shots.
everybody except for Brum ran one, and that was because
because
we did it.
It was the thing to give him a break.
Yeah, we did it when somebody couldn't make it, but everybody else still could, and also let him play a character. I think everybody ran through one, and then after that we were done. Did Trevor?
A couple of us might have done. I think I did too. Trevor and Jacob might have done too. To be completely honest, I think Brum did do one because he had some idea that he wanted to try or something like that he ran one. But yeah, it was pretty much we all did at least one, maybe two. And like, it was a good idea. It's just sometimes it works on the basis that all of us have time to like kind of have that one shot in the back pocket, which I feel like almost everyone does. But you might have, like, I have the same one shot in my back pocket whenever I need it. For a new group, I don't necessarily have a fully fleshed out idea that I think is enough to run a one shot off of at any given time, though.
Yeah, so
sometimes, but not always.
Another aspect of building a world out is it's not just for the person that's running the game. A great example of this is our first campaign that we like sat down and played all the way through. All of those characters have had some sort of lasting impression on the world, as they should when they're that high of a level. Jacob and Trevor's character have a franchised magic shop that is sprouted up across the world.
Sprouted up across campaigns, no less. And my campaign, ours.
And Trevor's character, who was an alchemist, made a university for magic that has now become central in two of the games that we play. The pirate campaign, not central, but present.
An important story beat to some extent.
In the pirate campaign, it's there. And then in our weekend in-person game that we play, it's also there. And that's actually where everything started.
Interesting.
The character that Robert played for the most of the campaign founded a mercenary company that his new character is a former member of. That part's still sort of murky. So we'll figure that out.
Exploring that actively at the moment.
Ironically,
my character's probably just running a drug trade.
I was going to say, ironically, my character might have done the least at the end of that campaign, even though certainly from the conversations that I've had with everybody, it seemed like my character was doing the most during the campaign, which is a bit of a main character syndrome, and I understand that, but like legitimately talking to people, legitimately talking to everybody, it just seems like my character was what was driving the plot.
I mean, you got the big plot item book for sure, so that was definitely an important part of it. I'd also say that I feel like the lasting impact of Dressel maybe hasn't been seen as much due to the fact that I think addressing what happened with Dressel after that campaign ended probably is a campaign in its own right. I don't
Maybe
know.
Not a campaign.
I haven't. I'd say I haven't
like
talked
a little
deeply
vignette
enough,
of a campaign.
It's not just like you're gonna see, like you're not gonna stumble upon a shop like Will Pip and Dana have set up and run. Like yours is probably like, we go to this country and there's a lich in charge of it.
Yeah, maybe. Like, I've talked to Brum about its own story. It seems like maybe he has an idea, but also I don't think he's really wanted to explore it because there's like certain ramifications. Like with that character specifically,
there was a lot going on with him.
There was so much evil in that character that I did not set out for there to be in the beginning. That it's like if a party of do-gooders comes across that character or what's left of them, in another story, it's like they have to deal with it. So like I don't blame him
Yeah,
for
you made the BBEG for a second, Ken.
yeah, I don't blame him for like not like giving me a definitive answer on that. I think it's something that he can just keep in his back pocket, and like if it comes up, it comes up, and that's cool. But like
I think if we ever go to Mummy's Mask, we're seeing Dressel.
yeah, but I think the next game that he wants to play is distinctly not Pathfinder.
I agree. Yes,
He wants to run like
Cyberpunk
Red or
the
other
Shadowrun.
Cyberpunk
Shadowrun. There we go.
2077.
That one was taking me a second.
One of the two. So,
but yeah, those are in our minds kind of the biggest parts of a campaign. Like we said, if you're playing D&D, you probably want to be playing a campaign. It's the more fulfilling overall way to play a TTRPG. There's a lot of fulfillment in one shots, but yeah, it's completing a full story that takes time to develop, because I have written down sense of completion as one of the pros under campaigns, but I don't have that as like a negative or like the inverse for a one shot, because there is still a sense of completion, especially if you're doing like puzzle or mystery based things, because like we've wholly been talking about Pathfinder a little bit more so, because that's what we have the most experience in when it comes to a full campaign setting. But starting to get into one shots a little bit, I personally like it because you don't always need to use the same system. Not that you need to for a campaign either, but you know, you get used to something and you normally want to stick with it. You and I have kind of said that we've always probably want to have a Pathfinder campaign going somewhere in our lives, just because we really do love the system.
Yeah,
but for a lot of
the one that I prefer.
Exactly. But like for a lot of one shots I run at this point, I've always loved Call of Cthulhu is a system for it. Because it's a low combat, which in a one shot, my personal preference is normally no to low combat, because combat is just long in pretty much any system we've ever played. And if you're doing a one shot, I like the kind of quirkier sides and like the weirder storytelling beats that you can get to in a one shot. So I like having different systems. For the last couple that I've run, they've just been like systemless storytelling ventures that I like to set out on. And going back to like a sense of completion, it's not like when you solve those riddles or like you wrap up the final bits of a story in a one shot, it's not like you're going, I feel nothing.
Yeah,
this
very
only took 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Like you still feel very satisfied. You still played out a full story. But like I'd say in like the same way that there's a different set of emotions when you finish Saving Private Ryan and you finish Band of Brothers. Both of them have a very deep emotional impact, but I've been living with the characters in Saving Private Ryan for an hour and a half, 2 hours max. I don't know the exact runtime,
right?
But not as long, where Band of Brothers is 15 hours, very deep, very narrative driven without this, in like every death, every beat is like hitting really hard, in like it has a lasting effect where like I think both of us probably still think about certain parts of Band of Brothers without anything coming up related to it. I don't think about Saving Private Ryan on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean,
where like
with Band of Brothers,
we could also one of the other very quickly probably do a whole episode on Band of Brothers. Yeah. We never will. It's not nerdy. It actually is. It's World War II. That's incredibly nerdy. But like, what are we going to add to that conversation? Watch if you haven't seen it.
One of the most powerful things is that there's the veterans giving their like recounting, recounting what we're about to see in the episode, and then closing each episode as well, which just ties you to the characters so much more.
Exactly.
But like to tie Private Ryan to a one shot, it's like, what's the objective? Oh, we have to get this one dude out of a war. Right. And so that's like what the characters are there doing. And we kind of get, glimpses of characters, but it mostly follows like Tom Hanks' character's point of view, where it's like it's still a very powerful story and still captures a lot of like what happened in World War II, especially on the landing of Normandy Beach. But like you miss a lot of like the parts of a character that are outside of combat, and that, whereas in Band of Brothers you get a lot of that.
That's a good point.
You start with them in
Saving
the
Private Ryan, they're always in war.
Yeah.
They're never not in the war.
Yeah, and in Band of Brothers, you start with them in training, you end with them post VE Day, and in each episode, maybe not each episode, I think there's a couple where it's pretty much just constant war, but in a lot of the episodes you get the downtime of these characters aren't in conflict, and you get to see a lot more of like what they've gone through and how it's taking a toll on them.
Because even in like the episode, or I believe 2 episodes where they're in Bastogne, I'd say probably 2 of the more combat focused episodes in the show.
Yeah, certainly.
There's still a lot of like, they're not fighting, they're just in the trenches, they're in their foxholes, in like hearing the banter back and forth between them. The one guy, one of the whole episodes is just to one of the medics coming around and checking for new morphine packs from the soldiers that are all there, because he's all out in this crazy siege that was nearly impossible for them to break out of. And you just get the little bits of like character interaction as he's going in between all of these different foxholes, checking in on everyone. All of that kind of stuff is like really cool to see instead of just combat forever.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite episode because of that, and because of a lot of reasons. But
it makes me cry harder than any other part of that show. But like, it's so good. It's the best 2 episodes of it for sure.
But back to one shots, because we're actually talking about Pathfinder and not.
Like I said, we could probably do a full episode on Band of Brothers.
Not
if
Tom
you can't
Hanks
tell from that
directed,
very brief interaction.
World War II.
Yeah,
films
still in with Tom Hanks. Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. But back into one shots.
All right, what are good things about them? Because it feels like we're kind of shitting on them. One thing that I love,
and we don't,
is you are given free reign with some limitations, depending on what's actually happening. But those are always presented beforehand. You're given free reign to just do whatever the hell you want with your character. Like,
exactly,
you can play a character that you don't know if it's actually going to work in combat. You could have the most wacky idea for a character and how they perform in combat. And if it doesn't work, well, you only have to sit through a couple hours of this bullshit of your character doing nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, in a very similar way, if you're talking out of like a Pathfinder setting, so like Call of Cthulhu is known to be, if you're doing one shots of it, it's known to be pretty lethal, which is the point. You want it to be lethal because it's a fun horror movie and you're dying in different ways. Where like the biggest stakes there are like, fuck, I died an hour into a 5-hour game. And like that feels kind of bad sometimes, but it's like, oh, well, I'm still seeing the rest of this play out, and like you can be a lot riskier with that kind of stuff. You can make a lot stupider decisions than you would normally in a longer form campaign, because you don't really want to see your character die in a long form campaign, and if you do, that's a whole different discussion. Where in a one shot, depending on your system, the goal might kind of be to die in the funniest way possible. Like, that's not an impossibility at all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, in one of the one-shots that you ran that was very oddly built around plinths, I played a character in Pathfinder whose whole thing was convincing people that he was on their side and then backstabbing them to
Yep.
get like double sneak attack damage. I was like, how realistic is this to do once a combat? Not realistic.
It's not.
Even
it's
with
not realistic
even
at
with a
all.
bluff of like 26, when one character is like constantly running up being like, oh my god, these guys are trying to kill me, or hey chaps, how you doing, how's guard duty performing for you, and then he stabs them in the back. It's like, it's only gonna work like one time, and there's a whole archetype.
And how
built
good was
around
that
it.
one time? Yeah.
It was like, it was kind of rewarding, but it's like the damage is just subpar. It's like, it wasn't even worth going through all the effort of like solely devoting a build to this. So
exactly. And then on the flip DM side of that, I think it's like they're a great sandbox to test either your like story or combat elements. I don't remember if you were in the one shot that I ran. I specifically did run a one shot to test things for Crown the first time I was running it, where there was a whole encounter with the Golthias tree in this like big underground cave section. That's like the big vampire tree. I can't remember if that was...
Yes, I was in that one.
You, Robert, Trev... Yeah, whoever was in that one. That was an encounter that I wanted to run in my full campaign, but I was like, this seems like... I don't know, there were a lot of elements in there where I was like, is this going to be fucking tedious? Like, obviously, I don't want something that's a big moment in my campaign to suck, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey guys, I'm workshopping this idea. I want to like actually run through it with real players. And then I took what I learned from that and like tweaked the fuck out of it and made it a lot more engaging in my actual campaign. Like that, it's good to like test things on both sides of the of the coin on that one.
Yeah, I mean, compounding on that, you had a Gestalt one shot. Do you remember that?
Oh god, barely. That was hell.
So for what Gestalt is,
I just wanted to make a Gestalt character, and then no one wanted to run a one shot, so I went, I guess I'm running the one shot then.
So what Gestalt is, for people who don't know, is in Pathfinder there's alternate rules. There's a couple different alternate rule systems that you can choose to incorporate, and Gestalt is one of them. And basically each level you choose 2 classes, and you get all of the abilities of the class. And then when it comes to saves, base attack bonus, and skill points, as well as hit points, you take the higher. So your characters are just crazy strong.
It is technically, from my understanding, it's realistically meant for like playing with 2 people.
Yeah.
So things like that. Like
it's
if
for
you
a
want
lower
to be
party
playing
count,
lower party, but you don't want to have like things so scaled down it feels like a joke. You can throw the same difficulty at someone, but run it in Gestalt.
Yeah. And so what I realized in that is that the character I ran was all about building elaborate traps with 2 alchemist archetypes, and then I can't remember what the other archetype was. It might have been rogue. It was all about,
probably, knowing you.
Yeah, I know, right? It was all about, because I think there's a racial archetype for, maybe it's gunslinger for kobolds that gives them sneak attack. And so I built the entire thing so that
talking about.
I wait for an enemy to trigger a trap and shoot them, and just pile up a number of dice and roll them all at once. And because of that one shot, if I ever have a Gestalt again, I'm going to play that same character. I'm going to play a kobold that sets up traps ahead of time and then lies in wait with a rifle to surprise
Setting
people.
up traps ahead of time is so useless in Pathfinder. As a player, though, it's 90% of the time.
Yes, so
it's so hard to make work.
So
I love it too.
I think the best way to do it is to trap something that is not a tile on the floor.
You're right.
You have to trap something.
You make a little mechanical something.
You can trap like a chest and leave it in an area where like they might be like, what the fuck is this? And go investigate it or something. But I don't you have to think like a DM when you're building around traps, and I think that's fun. But like,
oh, I definitely think it's fun. It's just hard.
Based on that one shot, if I ever had the chance to do that character again, I would. And I know that it's fun and quirky, and I would enjoy the character based on that one shot. So that's another good thing, is you're testing builds to potentially use in a future campaign, which is always fun.
Right, and that's a really nice part of it. So, talking of some fun and quirky trap mechanics, that transitions into what is realistically my favorite part of running one-shots, and that's that you basically get to play a game of whose line is it anyways, because the rules are made up and the combat doesn't matter. There have been, in one of the one-shots I've ran, I've given you, in Pathfinder, I've given you Starfinder weapons. On one of the ones that Brum ran, we were just making, like, using the spell Wish constantly.
Yeah, constantly. That was fun. That was for St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day, yeah. We were dealing with a leprechaun, and we spent about 4 hours just making random fucking wishes to overrule other people's wishes. It was great. That's what I like about one-shots, is they don't need to have they don't need to be tonally consistent. They do, like, you know, within the one shot. But if I'm playing in a one shot and I give all of you Wish, that's going to be less detrimental than if I gave all of you one Wish in Crown.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be world altering in an actual campaign, where it's world altering in a one shot, but you don't, it's like at the end of a sitcom. Everything that happened is reset at the beginning of the next episode. It's perfect. Being able to do that kind of insane shit is like why I love one shot so much. I'll talk about it more in a bit because I like it enough. There's an idea that Jacob has run for us a couple times.
I love that. I love that one.
It's a big party that you all find yourself at. I myself have run it like 3 or 4 times at this point as well. But that's, again, like a systemless one. But every time I've run it, in a couple of the times Jacob has run it that I've been in, at least, it just ends in an imagination off between the DM and the party, as you just wish whatever shit you want into existence. In one of the times the ending fight, air quotes, was a game of beer pong, but like also in the background Optimus Prime and Voldemort were fighting, and we all had laser swords, and like shit just went insane, and none of it really mattered, but just the storytelling and the fun that we were having didn't make us go, well, this doesn't make any narrative sense now, does it? Even though in most of the times we've run it, it did technically make narrative sense in what was happening.
Yeah, but nobody's like, is Optimus Prime really ever gonna fight Voldemort? It's like...
Exactly. There's no point in that. If you're griping about it, you clearly don't get the point of what we're fucking doing at this point.
It's very fun to do.
That's what I love one-shots. In a Call of Cthulhu one-shot that I was in at Gen Con, also, Nick is the best to play one-shots with. I don't make the rules. That's just true. Man's ideas are fucking insane. He's the best person to play one-shots with, in my opinion. There was a cult down in Mexico that we were investigating. We didn't actually find out too much about it. We weren't very successful in this one-shot, but it was really fucking funny. We were trapped in a church in the back room as the entire town was trying to kill us in there. And we had like shot a couple of them, and then we had dynamite, and he went, I light the dynamite and throw it all into the rafters. Brought down the whole fucking church on all of us. He was the only person in the entire town to live.
It's amazing. That's
so fucking funny. Like that like kind of leads me into, it's kind of tangential with the same fact that we're talking of, you can bend the rules in a one shot. I'm going to be like, I like to think that realistically, I'm not like a crazy stickler with the rules unless it's like very well outlined. Like we play Pathfinder. I have to be mindful of the rules. Exactly. Like I try not to be a dick about it, but like there are things that need to be done correctly, where in a one shot, I kind of don't fucking care. But if I do it in a, like, say you're like going, man, I need to like jump over this thing, it's 15 feet tall. In real Pathfinder, I'm going to go, okay, do you have the all of the prerequisite things to be able to do this? Because I know it's possible. I know it's a thing you can do. Give me your check. And even then I might say, give me your check, make a really high DC, something like that. But in a one shot, I might just go, yeah, sure, you can jump it, because I don't care, because it's going to be a way more fun story to deal with, and I don't have to deal with 3 sessions from now you going,
well, you let me
well,
jump it
I
that
only,
one time.
yeah, I jumped a 20-foot wall last time, and now I can't jump this 10-foot wall. Like, that's not something that comes up in a one shot. So I'm gonna be, like I said, I gave you Starfinder weapons. When one of you shot it, I went, all right, what is his KAC? And you went, we're playing Pathfinder. Those words don't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's like, I know, that's the point. And like, you come up with rules on the fly for something like that. But being able to just go, yeah, this doesn't matter right now. Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. That's going to be really fun. And if it doesn't go well, it's still going to be fun, because it's going to be really fucking bad for you instead of a little bit bad like it was currently.
Yeah.
I just think both of those two things, like, I play campaigns to play D&D, and I play one shots to have fun.
Yeah.
Not that D&D isn't fun, not that Pathfinder isn't fun, but like there have been a lot of times where all of us have just gone, man, I don't have it in me for like a serious role-playing session or a life or death combat, and we go, you want to just like make Call of Cthulhu characters really quick and play out some dipshit fucking mystery? It's like, yes. I do want exactly that. Actually, I don't have the mental bandwidth to be fighting for my life and the life of all of my friends right now, or having the most intense negotiations that could affect the fate of the rest of the entire campaign. I just don't have that in me right now.
Yeah, and I think
But that,
the next part about one shots that I want to talk about is composition. I brought up this point, and it's not because I think that party composition matters in a game. I wholeheartedly believe that if everybody is playing a little bit cognizant of the fact that they don't have a healer or they don't have a tank, that they can still get through any combat encounter or anything like that. That being said, in Pathfinder especially, or D&D 5th edition, most of the time you want to have a healer and you want to have a tank.
Yeah.
And then you want to have somebody who has arcane casting as well. Those are like your 3 pinnacles, and then once those are covered, everybody else can play, kind of whatever they want. You can double up on things. You can you can just play a character that doesn't really fit either of those molds. But in a one shot, I actually prefer if everybody just makes their character and shows up, and who knows what we have.
Which is normally what happens, and it's fucking chaos.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
A lot of the times that we have made a campaign, Robert ran a couple sessions of Kingmaker, and even in that, we all sat down and were like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is like sort of the role that I'm going to cover. Do we have a tank? Do we have somebody that can heal? Et cetera, et cetera. And
we then didn't listen to any of those rules or outlines, but that's an us problem.
Yeah. I mean, we have a tank, and we have like 2 or maybe even 3 people that can heal. And I think really in that campaign, oddly, in a Pathfinder campaign, what we lack most is just consistent arcane spell casting, where it's like, it feels so good in Pathfinder, and nobody really went for it. I think Trevor's character is a witch. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been so long.
I believe so.
But like, I think there's just that kind of like air when you're like sitting down and it's like, okay, this might go for a long time. We need to have a party that can sort of handle issues as they come up. and
Which
we don't
that's what an
wanna,
arcane spellcaster does
yeah.
most of the time.
And if it's a slog fest, we want somebody in the front who has a good chunk of hit points that can take it
Yep.
over and over and over again, while the rest of the party hits their sack of flesh as well. I think those sort of things are not required. I truly think that. But
Yeah.
whenever we set out to play and whenever we play with any group, it seems like, okay, maybe these are like, we should have this.
Yeah. It's not required. It is heavily advised.
It's like implied that you should have it. It's very recommended just by the nature of the game. It's very implied to keep a good cohesion within the party. And in a one shot, who fucking cares? Like,
yeah, either it's gonna be over at the end of the night, or you're gonna die.
Yeah,
and I don't give a fuck.
Your character might die because we have 4 wizards and a rogue. It's like, okay, we'll see what happens.
We'll fucking deal with it. If we all die, oh fucking wow.
Yeah, exactly. If we all die, it's like, oh, okay, we'll dust off our hands. See you next week for a regularly scheduled program.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what I love about one shots the most, is that it's just we don't need all of the bells and whistles. Let's go in there with like 4 marshals and a cleric, and the entire dungeon,
force our way through.
The entire dungeon has magical traps, so it's like nobody can detect magic. All right, I stepped into the last one. It's your fucking turn. Walk into it.
Yep.
Oh, that one was way harder than the one that I set off, so your character got a little bit more fucked up. Oh well, that's
pray
how
to God
it goes.
There's no diplomacy later on in this dungeon.
So I love that. I love the it inspires a more outside of the box thinking when you play one shots, just in general. Like, touching on a point that you brought up about rules, is you get way more leeway with how you can approach things, and when you don't have a party that hits every point that is needed, well, now you have to figure out a way to hit those sometimes without them, and so it inspires that sort of imagination. And in a campaign, certainly possible for those instances to come up, but also I don't want them to always be an issue. I don't want us to be like, every time we get a magic item, be like, what the hell is this? How could we find this out? I just want it to be like, okay, we got a magic item. After, the fuck fest is done, we can sit down and be like, okay, this is what we got. Oh my God, it's cursed. I'm so glad nobody picked it up. Something like that. I want to have the answers at our disposal, even if in the moment we don't have them and we just need like a day to come back to it. I like that sort of planning for longer term stuff, because I don't ever want us to feel like we get something set in front of us where it's like, we have no idea how to solve this, and my class can't do this, and your class can't do this, and because we're in a campaign and we can't, we have to sort of rely on precedents, and we can't just say, all right, well, we did it this one time this one way, why can't we do it the other way? It's just it's a lot more freeing to just, everybody rolls a rogue and we show up and nobody talked about it beforehand, and it's like, okay,
all right,
so now everything is a Metal Gear Solid mission where it's like, we don't want to get detected at all. That would be fun.
That like just free aspect is just so enticing, and I feel like it does, like, you're coming up with these out of the box wacky ideas, and I agree that like that's not how you want everything to be solved in a campaign, but I feel like, as with anything else, that kind of like practice in priming yourself for like, okay, maybe I'm not going for the balls to the wall wackiest idea you've ever heard, but this solution to the campaign puzzle is a bit off the beaten path now, because I'm thinking a little bit more openly, and like I'm not looking I'm still in the box, but my head's peeking out of it. Like I'm thinking of new things and like having that kind of like backstash of ideas of like that'd be kind of quirky. What if I dial it back 3 notches and then go, what do you guys think of this idea? And like presenting that in the campaign can be like that. Those can lead to some of the most memorable moments in a campaign.
Yeah, and so what you just said is important. One shots train us to think of alternate solutions to things that have very specific solutions already written into the rules. Because sometimes, for one reason or another, that solution didn't work or could never work because you don't have access to it. And when you get into that situation and you can call back to like, okay, one time in a one shot, my character had no knowledge of arcane magics and stuff like that, but I was able to pull off a ridiculous like trial and error with this wand, like running through like 6,000 words that I knew, and one of them happened to be like the command word for the wand or some stupid bullshit, right? And it's like, that's probably not going to be the answer in the campaign, but you can sort of use that experience to maybe come up with something. It's hard to think of like a hypothetical thing that I can
like
paint
the things
here.
that we're thinking of are so, either depending on how you want to phrase it, obscure or context dependent is maybe a better way to say it, that like it's hard to come up with a direct example.
Okay, all right, hang on, I've got one. So Nick blew up an entire church with TNT.
Yeah,
I was trying to plan an episode of like things that you can do in Pathfinder that will absolutely make your DM just groan, but it's written in the rules that you can do it.
Yeah, sure.
Off the top of your head, do you know how much a keg of gunpowder weighs mechanically in D&D? Or in Pathfinder, I mean?
5 kilograms, I believe.
It's 5 pounds.
Oh, it is pounds. I couldn't remember if we used metric or imperial in Pathfinder. I knew the number was 5 because I have had to deal with these things in our campaign.
Do you know how much the lowest size bag of holding can hold in weight?
No, of course not. Only one bag of holding exists in every Pathfinder world.
It's 500 pounds. So theoretically, you could have a character that stuffs 100 kegs of gunpowder into a bag of holding. And then do you know how much damage a keg of gunpowder deals when it is ignited with fire?
3d6.
It's actually 4d6. So you can deal 400 d6.
Oh, I made it 3d6 in that one fight. You're correct.
You can deal 400 d6 in a 30-foot radius by free action, turning a bag of holding inside out, and then casting some fire spell.
Any fire spell. Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, that would be really aggravating to a DM. And I was thinking, I'm like,
we did that in a one shot.
Yeah,
if you recall,
we did. We did it to Trevor.
We did, yeah, at a level 21 shot.
Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, realistically, would my character ever do this? The answer is no. But what my character might do is target a fire spell at the munitions of a ship, and there's probably more than 5 kegs of gunpowder there. So that's going to deal a lot of damage to the ship and possibly sink it, because we're in an aquatic campaign where cannons are a very real thing. I was like, okay, that's something to think about. And so that would be an example of like, okay, in a one shot, we literally just grabbed as much fucking gunpowder as we could carry, and then we set it up in front of something that we wanted to not exist anymore, and then we set it off with a fire spell. And it has real applications, and so maybe don't do it more than once, but like the one time that you do it, it'd be pretty cool.
So yeah, to kind of wrap everything up, I have one shot that I briefly mentioned that I want to give somewhat of an outline for for any of our listeners that might want to run it at some point in time. As I said, I've run it 2 or 3 times in the past, and it's been a ton of fun every time we've done it because it's just so loose in free form. You've been in at least
I've been one
of them, correct?
Jacob ran
Okay.
one. Yep. I think it's the first
Have you
time.
been in one that I've run as well?
I don't
or
think
just
so.
the one that Jacob ran?
The one that Jacob ran.
So what this one shot is you all find yourself at a party. And this is like a high school party or college
Like a
party,
frat
depending
party,
on how
yeah.
old you want to go. Yeah. You're all normal humans in this world. And what it is essentially is Groundhog Day. As the DM, before you have everyone sit down, and making characters is to the extent of like, my name's Chad. I'm the captain of the football team. That's it. That's character creation. I normally tell the players have some connection to at least one other person, which like is true in pretty much everything that we run in general. Having connections to your fellow players is just more fun, but like it makes sense for this one that like if you're at a college party, the cliques are going to be separated.
Yeah,
so
people.
like you know your friends. Exactly. But you lay out 2 or 3 events that are going to happen throughout the course of each cycle of Groundhog Day. In one of them, Jacob ran it where one of the characters off screen knocks down a fridge at the same point in every night. He referred to them as beats. Everything I'm describing is very loose. The whole point of everything is that it's loose, but that someone breaks a TV, a couple that isn't one of the party members gets into a fight. These kind of things. Something that is static and constant throughout every time you go through this party. Because no matter what, after a certain amount of time, whether this is like a real clock that you set or just like when you feel it's correct, something happens that kills everyone. One of the times that I've run it, it was when I was deep into my SCP binges, and every time the house would be completely sealed off by not technically SCP personnel, but by nameless organization personnel, and they would kill everyone in the house. They just like put metal shutters over the entire building and then cooked them all from the inside. Super fucked up. And then the party wakes up again and they are walking towards the house for the first time. And it eventually Jacob has run it where you just kind of figure it out after a while and there's nothing like really there. And it's just having fun. He's done one where one of us was, I think in the one that you were in, one of us was the antagonist. Trevor, I believe, was the antagonist trying to fuck us over and keep us further and further from the truth every time. You can do that. Like, this is just like, I know I've given very little, but like, that's the point. It is a base for just some fun storytelling, some fun fuck around with the boys, tell a dumb little story. I used a similar layout when we did the Christmas one shot where you got killed by Mariah Carey. You weren't in that one, were you? I did one of those as well. That one was fun. But that's the basics of it. It's just you're at a college party. You have a couple events that happen, and then anytime I've run it, there's something, call it like a simulation that you're in, and once you realize, or like maybe a lucid dream is a way to describe it, once the characters in game have like realized what's happening, they can start to affect different elements of it. And that's where I said like we got into a climactic beer pong fight against the villain with Optimus Prime and Voldemort fighting in the background, because it's just like it literally becomes school ground rules of the villain pulls out a Gatling gun and he starts trying to mow you down and you go, nuh-uh, I have magic shield. And it's just that back and forth until everyone, you know, hopefully before everyone's bored of it, but like before you just cut it just before the joke is dead, and then you have something happen that ends it. But it's completely up to you in the party how things end, and that is a very, very fun one shot. It's never the same anytime, and I've always had a great time being in it and running it.
Yeah, and one of the things that's so great about this one shot, from the one time that I played it, what I took away from it is when those scripted events happen, they mean something more each time they happen.
Yeah.
For instance, it was the climax was the house host of the party like pulled out a revolver and shot someone, and then everything restarted. And it's like every time somebody was alone with him and he killed them, it became more apparent where it's like, okay, that's our hard cutoff. So we have to figure out what's going on before then. And I've actually, now that we're talking about it, it reminds me of one of my favorite books, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I brought it up when we were talking about making a villain, how he's never going to release the third book. But on the first page and the last page of those books, it has sort of a Groundhog Day effect where it all comes back. And because of the way that the story is being told, it is him relaying his past to a scribe. And the page always ends the same. They're in an inn, and the inn is silent, but it's silent in 3 parts. The most obvious part is, there's no noise besides things that you would normally hear in a tavern. People drinking, some clamor,
band, maybe something. Yeah.
The second silence is the silence of the actual innkeeper and such, where there's no prolonged eye contact, no discussion of like troubling news or anything like that. And then I'm going to read the third silence because I love this passage, and it has nothing to do with the episode, but I want people to hear it.
Sure. Before you read it, is it like you said it's at the beginning and the end?
No spoilers.
Is that still a spoiler?
No
I assume so. If it's at the beginning and the end, it's not technically, but wanted to be careful just in case.
The third silence was not an easy thing to notice. If you listened for an hour, you might begin to feel it in the wooden floor underfoot and in the rough, splintering barrels behind the bar. It was in the weight of the black stone hearth that held the heat of a long dead fire. It was in the slow back and forth of a white linen cloth rubbing against the grain of the bar. And it was in the hands of a man who stood there, polishing a stretch of mahogany that already gleamed in the lamplight. The man had true red hair, red as flame. His eyes were dark and distant, and he moved with the subtle certainty that comes from knowing many things. The Waystone, that's the name of the inn, was his, just as the third silence was his. This was appropriate, as it was the greatest silence of the 3, wrapping the others inside itself. It was deep and wide as autumn's ending. It was heavy as a great river's smooth stone. It was the patient, cut-flower sound of a man who is waiting to die. So, to tie that back, in this one shot, you start walking up, and you end walking back up. After the end, you begin again. And it's very fun, very powerful, and it really twists everything on its head. And the first time that you do it, first time that you wake up and you're walking back up to the party, you're like, okay, weird. Maybe we just didn't do what we were supposed to, and so he's just starting again. And then the second time, you're like, okay, clearly something's different. We tried different things and we got the same result. And then as it sort of got further and further into the night, and we got further and further down the story of the one shot, and the traitor revealed themselves, it was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. We have to break this cycle. And so for me, it came back to my favorite book, and this whole page, the first and last page, is my favorite part to read in all of the book. And it's so fun to get a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance at figuring it out and gathering information each time, and then being encouraged to use the information that you had gathered.
Exactly.
And it is a wonderful way to run a one shot. And I don't know if Jacob came up with it by himself. I assume that he did.
I think so, but I am not positive as well.
And it is.
I'm pretty sure he did.
It is one of the coolest one shots that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he could set it up at Gen Con, and
he could run
as long
that
as he
as an event for sure.
Polished up the time. He could run it as like a 4-hour event for people, and it would
absolutely,
it would be really fun. And I think people would also get sort of that same sort of thing where it's like, okay, we're talking about it. This happened 5 years ago. You've ran it a number of times. He's ran it a couple of times for us, and it's still something that we talk about and will continue to run for people. So very cool, and that's one of the best things about one shots is, okay, we did it once, and this happened. I mean, how many times have you ran your Desert Island game show thing?
I'd say I have one called Where Is the Rum Gone, which is just an in-universe game show that happens. I've run that, I think, 3 times, because you've been in it twice at least. And then I've run it with our normal group, our Crown group. And then I've also done an updated version, just like a second episode of it as well, so you can just keep rehashing things, which is always fun, because it has the familiarity that you're kind of talking about of coming back, and it's the big studio audience opening of Where Has the Rum Gone, and you're like brought back to the other time you've done it. It's gonna be completely fucking different. All of the puzzles and everything are gonna be vastly different than before, but you're still in that same universe, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, so all that to say, campaigns obviously have their emotional ties, but one shots can have similar but different elicits of emotions in the same way, where you think back fondly on it, and it's like, I know I said it earlier in the episode, when you think about a one shot, you remember everything that happened, and there's nothing that stands out where it's like, this was so intense. But I lied, because we do have those moments in one shots, and they're really fun, and you can always go back and do them again. So I guess in totality, run more one shots for people, especially when it's like, okay, this person can't come because of this reason or that reason, and everybody always has like this 4-hour time period blocked out. So why don't
we all don't have plans already.
Yeah, why doesn't someone just
do something?
Just jot something down quickly? It doesn't have to be perfect. It's better when the DM goes in knowing just a little bit more than the players, and something great comes out of it.
It really is. But with that, I believe that's everything in our little discourse between the two styles of playing tabletop role-playing games. And until next time, I've been Ian.
And I've been Tyler. I told you we would just yap about this shit.
You were right. We certainly do be yapping about TTRPGs. But we hope that you have a great rest of your week, weekend, day, whenever you happen to be listening to this episode. And we certainly hope you tune in to the next one as well.